The arena on Zerath Prime was unlike anything the galaxy had ever seen. Its walls stretched high into the sky, gleaming with a metal that seemed to shift colors under the light of the twin suns. Thousands of spectators filled every seat, their excitement bubbling into a roar that echoed across the massive Colosseum. Holographic banners flickered in the air above them, displaying the names of the fighters who had trained their whole lives for this moment. Each champion was a marvel of skill and technology, adorned in sleek exosuits, armed with plasma swords, and carrying energy rifles capable of cutting through steel. Every eye in the stadium was glued to the central platform, waiting for the next round of combat. No one expected the arrival of the lone figure who would change everything. The doors at the far end of the arena slid open with a hiss, and a hush fell over the crowd. A single man walked in, unarmed, holding nothing but a simple wooden broom. The spectators blinked in disbelief. Some laughed nervously, others whispered in confusion. Who would dare enter the arena without weapons, without armor, without even the basic shields that every competitor relied on? His steps were calm and measured, and yet there was an energy about him that demanded attention. His robes were plain and worn, a stark contrast to the gleaming armor and tech suits around him. His face, partly shadowed by a hood, carried the faint lines of age, but his eyes were sharp and alive, scanning the arena as if reading it like an open book. He walked slowly, deliberately, and with each step a ripple of unease spread through the crowd and competitors alike. "They say he vanished 20 years ago," a spectator whispered to her companion. "Kale Aaron, the last time he fought here, he won every match without a single scratch. People thought he retired or worse, died." The companion shook his head. "Impossible. Who would train for 20 years in secret and come back like this, with a broom?" Kale's presence alone was unsettling. Rumors about him had circulated for decades. He was said to be unbeatable, the master of an ancient combat style that no one alive had ever witnessed. He had disappeared mysteriously after claiming the last interstellar championship, leaving a void that countless warriors had tried and failed to fill. And now here he was, not in a dazzling exosuit, not with weapons capable of destroying mountains, but with a broom. The first challenger approached. He was a towering cyborg, his limbs reinforced with titanium and carbon fiber. Energy blades extended from his wrists, humming with deadly intent. The crowd erupted into cheers, expecting an easy match. The cyborg grinned, stepping closer, his metal feet clanging against the arena floor. Kale's grip on his broom was loose, almost casual. He didn't move until the cyborg lunged, swinging his energy blade with a speed that would have cut most opponents in half. Kale sidestepped with fluid motion, his broom sweeping the floor, deflecting the blade. Sparks flew as metal met wood, but Kale didn't falter. His eyes followed the cyborg's every move, predicting his attacks before they happened. The crowd gasped. How could a man with a simple broom counter such advanced technology? The cyborg attacked again, more aggressively, spinning and striking in ways that would overwhelm a normal fighter. Kale danced around the attacks, ducking under strikes, flipping away from lunges, and using his broom to parry every blow. Each movement was precise, deliberate, and impossible to anticipate. The audience leaned forward in disbelief, unable to tear their eyes away from the battle unfolding before them. "You're underestimating him," someone muttered. "That broom, it's not just a stick, it's part of him." And indeed, it seemed to be. Kale moved as though the broom were an extension of his body. It became a shield, a weapon, and even a tool for misdirection. He tapped it against the ground to throw dust into the cyborg's optics, spun it to deflect plasma bolts, and flicked it in ways that unbalanced the massive opponent. Within minutes, the cyborg was struggling, his energy blades misfiring as Kale's movements disrupted his rhythm. Then with a swift, graceful maneuver, Kale swept the broom across the floor, tripping the cyborg and sending him crashing onto the arena tiles. The crowd erupted into a mix of gasps and cheers. No one had seen anything like this before. Kale stood over the defeated cyborg, not with pride, but with quiet calm. He had not shouted, he had not taunted, yet the effect was undeniable. He was in complete control. Between matches, Kale barely spoke. His eyes scanned the arena, his posture relaxed but ready. The younger fighters whispered among themselves, speculating how he could be so skilled without any high-tech weaponry. One of them, a lithe alien with 4 arms and glowing eyes, approached him cautiously, asking a question through the translator implant in his suit. Why do you fight with a broom? Why not use the weapons that everyone else relies on? Kale looked at the broom, then at the fighter, and smiled faintly. Strength comes not from tools, but from within. The weapon is nothing. It's the mind, the body, the balance, and the heart that win battles. The alien blinked, unsure what to say. He had trained his whole life with the most advanced tech available, yet this man, with nothing more than a broom, had defeated the cyborg. As the next wave of challengers entered, Kale prepared himself. There were hulking brutes from the mining colonies, fleet-footed assassins from the outer rim, and even genetically enhanced warriors from the core planets. Each one believed they would be the one to finally end Kale's mysterious return. But one by one, they fell to his skill. Kale did not fight with anger or aggression. He moved with rhythm and grace, reading each opponent as if he could see the thread of their intent before they even moved. The broom became more than a weapon. It was a tool for strategy, a way to manipulate the battlefield. With it, he disarmed, tripped, and unbalanced opponents in ways that no technology could counter. Even the most advanced exosuits and energy shields proved useless against his mastery of timing, leverage, and anticipation. In the stands, spectators began to murmur. The younger warriors started taking notes, their eyes wide with awe. Veterans of the arena exchanged nervous glances. Whispers of Kale Aaron's legend spread like wildfire. The master had returned and he was unstoppable. But Kale did not revel in the praise. After each match, he bowed slightly, acknowledging his opponent without mockery or pride. His style was more than combat, it was a lesson. Every strike, every sweep of his broom demonstrated a philosophy long forgotten by the galaxy. That true strength was measured not by weapons or technology, but by skill, patience, and the clarity of the mind. As the day went on, the crowd's disbelief transformed into admiration. What had begun as mockery, the man with the broom turned into awe. They watched as Kale danced through the chaos of the arena, turning every attack into an opportunity, every moment into a display of perfect control. Children in the stands pointed excitedly, imagining themselves one day mastering such skill. Older fighters shook their heads, humbled by what they had underestimated. In a quiet corner behind the arena, a group of engineers and weapons designers murmured to each other. "We built these exosuits to make anyone unstoppable," one said. "But he doesn't even need them." "How?" "No one trains like that anymore," another whispered. "The old ways, the balance, the discipline, he has all of it. It's like he's from another time." Indeed, Kale was from another time. He had retreated from the galaxy's obsession with power and tech, seeking solitude and mastery. While others relied on machines, he refined his mind and body, learning techniques that had been lost to history. Every move he made in the arena was a testament to years of discipline, focus, and understanding of the human, or in some cases, alien, form. As the sun began to set over Zerath Prime, the arena's lights shifted, illuminating the central platform with a golden glow. Kale stood in the middle, broom in hand, ready for the next challenger. The whispers in the crowd grew louder. He had not just returned. He had announced that the age of technology alone would not dominate the arena. Skill, heart, and the mastery of oneself could still rise above even the most advanced machines. Somewhere in the stands, an old friend of Kale's, long thought dead, watched silently. They had trained together decades ago, each pushing the other to heights that no one else could reach. Seeing him return with nothing but a broom stirred a mixture of pride and worry. Pride because Kale had never lost his edge, worry because the arena had changed and the challenges ahead were unlike anything from the past. But Kale's focus was unshakable. He moved with the quiet confidence of someone who had faced every danger imaginable and emerged victorious. The broom was light in his hands, yet every swing carried the weight of years of training, philosophy, and mastery. He was ready, not just for the next opponent, but for the lesson he intended to teach the galaxy. That even in a world dominated by machines and weapons, the true power of a warrior lay in their mind, their body, and their spirit. And so, as the final rays of the twin suns dipped below the horizon, casting long shadows across the arena floor, Kale Aaron stood alone, calm and unwavering, broom in hand. The crowd held its breath, sensing that history was unfolding before their eyes. The master had returned, and no one, not a single fighter, not the most advanced weapon, not even the galaxy itself, would ever forget the man who entered the arena with nothing but a broom. The arena buzzed with anticipation as the next wave of challengers prepared to face Kale. Errand. The spectators had already seen something extraordinary. A man, armed with nothing but a broom, had defeated a towering cyborg with ease. Whispers ran through the crowd like wildfire, and even the most seasoned warriors could not hide their unease. Many had trained their whole lives, relying on the most advanced weapons and armor the galaxy could offer. Yet here was a man showing them that skill, balance, and instinct could surpass even the most sophisticated technology. Kale stood calmly in the center of the arena, his broom resting lightly against his shoulder. His eyes scanned the approaching competitors, not with fear, not with anger, but with complete focus. The first challenger was a lithe alien with 4 arms and skin that shimmered like molten silver. Each hand held a blade that crackled with energy, and his movements were unnaturally fast. He lunged at Kale, aiming to overwhelm him with sheer speed and multiple strikes. Kale did not flinch. He twirled his broom with a fluid motion, letting it extend his reach and deflect the incoming blades. Sparks flew as energy met wood, and the alien's eyes widened in shock. Each attack Kale faced was met with precision, yet he never overextended. His movements were economical, graceful, and deliberate. With a sudden flick, he tripped the alien, sending him tumbling across the arena floor. The crowd erupted in amazement, some shouting in disbelief, others in awe. The next challenger was larger, a brute from the mining colonies. His arms were massive, muscles bulging beneath armor plates, and he swung a heavy energy hammer with enough force to crush a small vehicle. The brute roared, charging Kale with the intent to end the match quickly. Kale shifted his weight lightly, barely moving, and sidestepped the first swing. With the broom, he blocked the next blow, guiding it past him, and then used the momentum to trip the giant, sending him crashing to the ground. The crowd cheered, but Kale did not celebrate. He remained still, focused, as if anticipating the next move. There was a rhythm to his actions, a harmony between his mind, body, and broom. Each strike, each block was not only defensive but also a lesson. Even without realizing it, the audience was learning from him. Young warriors in the stands leaned forward, wide-eyed, trying to memorize the subtle footwork and wrist movements that made Kale so effective. Between matches, Kale moved to the edge of the arena to rest. The broom was light in his hands, yet it had become more than a weapon. It was an extension of his own body, a conduit for his skill and knowledge. Opponents and spectators alike were starting to see that there was a philosophy behind his fighting style. Technology, armor, and weapons could be powerful, but they could not replace the discipline, awareness, and creativity that Kale embodied. As the day progressed, the competition grew fiercer. Kale faced more advanced combatants, each designed, trained, or genetically enhanced to be the perfect warrior. Some had neural-linked exosuits, allowing them to react faster than the human eye could follow. Others wielded plasma whips or gravity-manipulating gauntlets capable of hurling opponents across the arena. Yet no matter the weapon, no matter the enhancement, Kale adapted. He read the intentions of each fighter, anticipating their strikes before they fully executed them. His broom became a tool of misdirection, leverage, and precision. With each swing, he shifted the energy of his opponent, using their own strength and speed against them. One fighter in particular stood out, a young prodigy from the core planets. She moved like a shadow, swift and unpredictable, striking with twin energy daggers. The crowd gasped at her speed, many believing she would be the first to defeat Kale. The battle began with a flurry of strikes, the prodigy darting in and out, aiming to find a gap in Kale's defenses. He did not panic. With subtle shifts of his weight and deft sweeps of his broom, he blocked, redirected, and controlled her momentum. Finally, with a single twist, he disarmed her and sent her tumbling to the ground, unhurt but defeated. The young warrior's eyes widened in astonishment. How can you fight like this without weapons, without enhancements?" she asked. Kale looked at her calm and steady and replied simply, "Weapons are tools. True skill comes from the mind and body. Learn to trust them first, and you will always find a way." Her words were not just for the prodigy. The entire arena seemed to pause, absorbing the lesson. Kale was not just a fighter, he was a teacher. With every movement, he reminded everyone that strength was more than technology. It was strategy, timing, observation, and the courage to act when others hesitated. As evening fell, the arena's artificial lights bathed the central platform in a golden glow. Kale faced a group of elite combatants, each more skilled than the last. They had been observing him, learning and adapting, hoping to exploit any weakness. The first among them was a genetically enhanced soldier with reflexes faster than any human. He attacked in a blur, aiming directly for Kale's head. Yet Kale's eyes tracked him effortlessly. With a precise sweep of his broom, he redirected the soldier's movement, guiding him harmlessly to the floor. Another fighter rushed him from the side, but Kale pivoted, using a subtle kick and broom maneuver to unbalance the attacker. Within moments, every challenger had been neutralized without lethal force. Whispers spread through the stands. He's not just fighting, he's showing them how to fight. Even the most hardened veterans of the arena, those who had faced countless dangers and wielded the deadliest weapons, felt a mix of respect and fear. Kale had reminded them that the universe had changed. Technology alone was not enough. The human or alien spirit, honed through discipline and mastery, could still overcome any obstacle. Backstage, engineers and designers discussed what they had just witnessed. "We made these exosuits thinking they were unbeatable," one said, shaking his head. "And yet he defeats them with a stick and skill alone. How is this possible?" Each match, each maneuver was deliberate, a demonstration of a principle that few still remembered. His training had not been about weapons, speed, or strength alone. It had been about awareness, precision, and the ability to adapt to any situation. Every opponent he faced became a test, not just of their strength, but of their understanding. And every victory was a lesson for those who watched. Power without wisdom was meaningless. As the night deepened, the final challengers of the day approached. They were among the best the galaxy had to offer, warriors from distant planets, each with unique abilities and enhancements designed to maximize their combat potential. The first, a towering alien with crystalline skin, glimmered under the arena lights. He struck with a hammer that generated seismic shockwaves, intending to crush Kale instantly. Kale remained calm, reading the energy, the rhythm, the timing of the attack. With a well-timed sweep of his broom and a subtle shift of weight, he redirected the force, causing the hammer to strike the arena floor harmlessly, sending vibrations harmlessly across the platform. The crystal alien stumbled, then fell, not with injury, but with the realization that brute force alone could not overcome Kale's mastery. Next was a nimble assassin from the outer rim, cloaked in shadows and armed with retractable energy blades. She darted in every direction, aiming to find the slightest opening. The crowd held its breath as Kale spun and dodged, his broom guiding her strikes away from his body. Each dodge was measured, each step deliberate, until finally, with a precise motion, he tripped the assassin, causing her to roll across the floor and come to a stop, unharmed but defeated. Spectators were on their feet. They had seen the impossible, a man with a broom defeating warriors armed with the most advanced technology in the galaxy. Children cheered, adults whispered, and even seasoned fighters shook their heads in disbelief. Kale's return was not just a spectacle, it was a revelation. But Kale did not seek applause. He remained composed, humble, and focused. He understood that true mastery was not about winning a crowd or claiming titles. It was about understanding, discipline, and demonstrating what could be achieved with skill and heart. Every opponent, every movement, reinforced a lesson older than the galaxy itself. Tools could enhance, weapons could protect, but the mind, body, and spirit were the ultimate instruments of power. As the night drew to a close, Kale stood at the center of the arena, broom in hand, his body calm and ready. He had faced dozens of challengers, each more skilled than the last, and emerged victorious every time. Yet he was not done. Tomorrow would bring new fighters, new challenges, and perhaps the most dangerous opponents of all. But Kale welcomed them. Every match was a chance to teach, to inspire, and to remind the galaxy that even in a world dominated by technology, the human, or alien, spirit could prevail. From the stands, whispers continued to spread. "The master is back." Kale Aaron, armed with nothing but a simple broom, had reminded the galaxy of a truth that many had forgotten. Mastery of self was the greatest weapon of all. And as the arena lights dimmed, casting long shadows across the gleaming floor, Kale stood alone, calm and unshaken. The day had been long, the battles intense, and yet he remained steady, ready for whatever challenge would come next. The master had returned, and the universe would never forget the lessons he was about to teach. The next morning, the arena was already alive with anticipation. News of Kale Aaron's astonishing victories had spread across Zerath Prime and beyond. Spectators from distant planets arrived, eager to witness the master with the broom in action. Traders, engineers, and young fighters jostled for a spot near the holographic screens, all murmuring about how technology had failed against his skill. The air buzzed with tension, excitement, and a quiet respect that no one expected to feel for a man without weapons. Kale walked onto the arena floor with calm steps, his broom resting lightly against his shoulder. Unlike the previous day, he seemed to move with a deeper purpose. It was as if each step, each glance, carried intention beyond simply winning matches. His eyes swept over the challengers lined up across the platform, warriors trained for years in the most deadly combat schools in the galaxy. Some were enhanced with cybernetic limbs, others had neural-linked reflex boosters, and a few were born with unique abilities shaped by evolution on hostile worlds. They looked at him with a mixture of disbelief and scorn. "Do you really think a stick can beat us?" sneered a hulking alien from the outer rim, his arms bristling with plasma gauntlets. Kale did not answer with words. He simply lifted the broom, letting it rest in his hands as if it were a natural part of his body. In that simple gesture, the crowd could feel his confidence, his calm focus. He did not need to boast. His actions would speak louder than any words. The first battle began with a flurry of attacks. The hulking alien swung his gauntlets in wide arcs, each strike capable of shattering reinforced steel. Kale shifted his weight slightly, letting the broom guide the blows past him. Sparks flew, energy discharged, but Kale remained unharmed. With a sudden pivot, he tapped the alien's wrist, sending the heavy weapon clattering harmlessly to the floor. The alien stumbled, unbalanced, and Kale used a gentle but precise kick to push him to the ground. The crowd erupted. Cheers and gasps mixed as they watched Kale defeat yet another advanced warrior, but he did not gloat. He simply adjusted his grip on the broom and waited, eyes scanning the next challenger with calm intensity. The next fighter was a speedster, a humanoid from the mining colonies whose reflexes had been enhanced to the point where normal humans could barely see her movements. She darted forward in a blur, twin energy daggers aimed at Kale's chest. He moved with the same serene precision, sidestepping and parrying, letting her momentum carry her past him. With a single sweep of his broom, he tripped her, causing her to stumble and roll to safety. She looked up at him, eyes wide, gasping. How do you move like that?" she asked, voice trembling. Kale lowered his broom slightly and replied, "I do not move, I flow. Every action has a reason, every strike has a purpose. When you understand yourself, you understand the fight." The young fighter did not fully grasp his words yet, but she could feel their weight. Even the most advanced enhancements could not replicate the mastery Kale displayed. The crowd began to murmur, a mix of excitement and reverence filling the arena. Kale was not merely winning. He was showing a different way to fight, one that relied on skill, awareness, and discipline rather than sheer power. The battles continued throughout the day, each one more challenging than the last. Kale faced opponents who had trained their entire lives to counter techniques like his, warriors whose reflexes were sharper than any normal humans, and whose weapons could obliterate anything in an instant. Yet no matter the challenge, Kale adapted. He read their movements before they fully executed them, turning their strengths into weaknesses. Every swing of his broom, every step, every pivot became a lesson in balance, timing, and control. Between matches, Kale observed quietly. He did not speak much, but when he did, his words carried wisdom that resonated with the fighters and spectators alike. "Power alone does not win fights," he told a group of young trainees watching from the stands. "A weapon can be broken, enhancements can fail. The mind and body trained together are unbreakable." The spectators began to understand what they were witnessing. Kale Aaron was more than a fighter. He was a teacher, showing the galaxy that the true edge was not technology, but discipline, intelligence, and heart. Children whispered to each other, wide-eyed, imagining the day when they too might master such skill. Veteran warriors shook their heads in disbelief, humbled by the simplicity and brilliance of his style. As the sun climbed higher, the arena presented its most dangerous challenge yet: the elite squad from the core planets. These fighters had been trained specifically to take down legends like Kale. They moved in coordinated formations, striking from multiple angles simultaneously, each attack designed to overwhelm the mind and body of any opponent. Even the most skilled warriors would struggle against such precision. The first member of the squad, a cybernetic soldier with enhanced reflexes, lunged at Kale with blinding speed. The crowd gasped as the figure blurred across the arena floor. Kale stood still, breathing calmly, and with a subtle flick of his broom, he redirected the soldier's momentum, sending him tumbling harmlessly to the ground. The other members attacked in quick succession, but Kale's movements were flawless. He parried, blocked, and dodged with effortless grace, turning the coordinated strikes into a chaotic mess. The spectators were on the edge of their seats. Every clash, every movement was like watching a dance, a battle choreographed by skill and intuition rather than brute force. Kale used minimal effort to achieve maximum effect, his broom guiding the flow of each opponent's energy, redirecting attacks, and creating openings that allowed him to control the battlefield completely. During a brief pause in the fighting, Kale crouched and adjusted his broom. The squad hesitated, unsure of how to proceed. They had seen him defeat every fighter they had ever admired, yet here he was, seemingly calm and unarmed, prepared to face their combined assault. Kale's eyes scanned the arena, noting their stance, weight distribution, and intent. Then, without warning, he sprang into action. With a swift sequence of movements, Kale disarmed one soldier, tripped another, and deflected attacks from the rest. Within moments, the elite squad lay scattered across the arena, unharmed but defeated. The crowd erupted in awe and disbelief. The young fighters cheered, inspired by what they had just witnessed. Even the veterans could not deny the mastery before them. Kale had done the impossible. He had turned the combined might of the galaxy's finest into a lesson in humility and skill. After the fight, Kale paused and addressed the crowd. His voice, calm and clear, carried across the arena. Do not rely on what others create for you. Learn, adapt, and understand yourself. Strength comes from within, not from the weapons you carry. The spectators were silent for a moment, absorbing the weight of his words. Then, a wave of applause and cheers erupted, louder than any before. They were not just celebrating victory, they were recognizing wisdom, mastery, and the return of a legend. Backstage, engineers, scientists, and weapons designers whispered among themselves. "We've built the most advanced fighters in the galaxy," one said, shaking his head. "Yet he defeats them with a broom and skill. How is that possible?" "Technology cannot replace understanding," another replied quietly. "We've forgotten the old ways, the discipline, the mastery of the body and mind. He reminds us what true skill looks like." Kale did not seek fame or glory. His goal was not to dominate the arena, but to show the galaxy that strength and wisdom mattered more than any machine. Every match, every movement was a testament to that philosophy. He was teaching, inspiring, and challenging everyone to see beyond the surface, to understand that mastery was more than winning. It was about knowledge, control, and the courage to act with purpose. As the day progressed, Kale faced more challengers, each more skilled than the last. He moved through the arena with calm focus, his broom guiding his actions like an extension of his body. Each victory reinforced his message, that even in a universe dominated by machines and enhancements, the human, or alien, spirit could rise above. The crowd began to realize that this was not merely a competition. It was a demonstration of what could be achieved through discipline, observation, and understanding. Finally, as the sun began to set over Zerath Prime, the arena lights illuminated the central platform with a golden glow. Kale stood alone, broom in hand, surrounded by defeated opponents who looked on with respect. He had faced countless warriors, each trained for years, and had emerged victorious every time. Yet he remained humble, calm, and focused. From the stands, whispers spread like wildfire. "He's not just a fighter, he's a master." They realized that no matter how advanced the tech, the mind and body could overcome it. Kale had reminded them of something fundamental: the power of skill, the importance of understanding, and the value of discipline. In a quiet corner of the arena, an old friend of Kale's observed the events. They had trained together decades ago, pushing each other to heights no one else could reach. Seeing Kale return with nothing but a broom stirred a mixture of pride and concern. Pride because Kale had never lost his edge, concern because the arena had changed and new challenges awaited that would test him like never before. Kale did not waver. He adjusted the broom in his hands and looked toward the horizon. He knew the coming battles would be harder, opponents more cunning and dangerous. But he also knew that with discipline, focus, and understanding, there was no challenge he could not overcome. His philosophy was clear. True strength came from within, and every warrior had the potential to reach it if they were willing to learn. As the crowd began to disperse for the night, Kale remained on the arena floor, calm and unshaken. He had taught countless lessons, faced the most skilled fighters, and proven that mastery was more than weapons or enhancements. He was the master returned, not just to fight but to inspire, to challenge, and to remind the galaxy that skill, heart, and spirit were the ultimate weapons. The sun dipped below the horizon, casting long shadows across the arena. Kale Aaron stood alone, his broom in hand, ready for whatever the next day would bring. The master had returned, and the universe would never forget the lessons he was about to teach. The final day of the tournament arrived with a strange silence over the arena on Zerath Prime. The usual noise of traders, gamblers, and excited fans was softer now. Word had spread across the planet and far beyond it. Kale Aaron, the man who entered the arena with nothing but a broom, had defeated every challenger placed before him. Some called it impossible. Others called it destiny. But everyone agreed on one thing: the final match would decide more than just a title. It would decide the future of combat itself. The arena lights glowed brighter than ever, reflecting off the silver towers that circled the massive platform. Drones hovered in the sky, broadcasting the event across the galaxy. The seats were filled beyond capacity. Even high officials from the core systems had arrived to witness what many believed would be the end of Kale's unlikely run. At the center of the arena stood the reigning champion. He was known simply as Orcs, a name spoken with both fear and respect. He was not just a warrior, he was the result of decades of scientific advancement. His body was enhanced with military-grade cybernetics. His nervous system was linked directly to a combat AI that predicted enemy movement before it happened. His armor could absorb plasma blasts. His strength could shatter reinforced steel. Orcs had never lost. He stood tall, nearly a head taller than Kale, his armor gleaming black and red under the arena lights. Energy hummed softly from the weapons built into his arms. His helmet retracted slowly, revealing sharp eyes filled with cold confidence. Across from him, Kale stepped forward. He wore the same simple robes, the same calm expression, the same wooden broom rested in his hand. The contrast between them was almost unreal. One was the peak of technological warfare. The other looked like a humble worker who had walked into the wrong place. The crowd held its breath. Orcs spoke first, his voice amplified by the arena systems. "You have impressed the masses, but this ends now. Skill cannot defeat calculation. Instinct cannot defeat prediction." Kale looked at him quietly. "We will see," the signal sounded. Orcs moved first. He did not charge wildly like the others. He stepped forward with controlled precision. His arm extended and a blade of solid energy formed instantly. He struck with blinding speed, faster than any opponent Kale had faced before. The crowd gasped. Kale barely shifted. The broom rose just enough to guide the blade past his shoulder. The movement was so small that many almost missed it. Orcs followed with a second strike, then a third, each one calculated by his internal AI to exploit weakness. Kale's feet glided across the floor. He did not block force with force. He redirected it. Each strike from Orcs seemed powerful enough to split the arena floor, yet each one met empty space or the smooth guidance of wood redirecting energy. Orcs increased speed. His movements became a blur, combinations of attacks layered perfectly. Blades extended from both arms now, spinning arcs of light around him. The arena floor cracked under the pressure of his strikes. Still, Kale remained untouched. He flowed between attacks like water around stone. The broom spun gently in his hands, tapping, guiding, deflecting. His breathing stayed slow and even. Inside his armor, Orcs' AI recalculated again and again. Prediction failure, prediction failure, prediction failure. For the first time, Orcs frowned. He launched himself forward using boosters built into his legs. The force created a shockwave across the platform. He aimed a crushing punch directly at Kale's chest. At the last possible second, Kale stepped inside the attack instead of away from it. The broom pressed lightly against Orcs' elbow joint. A small shift of weight, a twist of the wrist. Vyrex's own momentum turned against him. The massive champion stumbled past Kale, barely catching himself before falling. A wave of shock rolled through the crowd. No one had ever made Vyrex lose balance. Vyrex turned slowly. "You are reading the AI?" Kale shook his head. "No, I am reading you." Vyrex attacked again, this time activating every system in his armor. Micromissiles launched from his shoulders, energy nets fired from hidden compartments, gravity pulses distorted the air around them. The arena became chaos, but even chaos has rhythm. Kale moved through it. He used the broom to hook a missile and redirect it harmlessly into the sky. He spun low to avoid the net and tapped the gravity emitter with precise force, disrupting its balance. Each motion was efficient, no wasted effort, no panic. The crowd was no longer cheering wildly. They were silent. They were witnessing something greater than combat. They were watching mastery. Vyrex's breathing grew heavier. His armor systems were overheating from constant maximum output. "Impossible," he muttered. Kale stepped forward calmly. "You rely on what was built for you," he said softly. "But you forgot to build yourself." Vyrex roared and charged with everything he had left. It was a final, overwhelming assault. Blades, fists, shockwaves, all at once. Kale closed his eyes for a brief second. Then he moved. One step to the left, a sweep of the broom low across the floor, a sharp upward twist at the right moment. The broom struck a small exposed joint behind Vyrex's knee, not with force but with perfect timing. The massive champion's leg buckled. Before he could recover, Kale pivoted and used the broom to guide Vyrex's upper body forward. The armored giant crashed onto the arena floor. The impact shook the stadium. Silence. Vyrex tried to stand, but Kale placed the broom gently across his chest, not pressing hard. Just enough, it was over. The arena remained silent for several long seconds, then slowly the realization spread. The undefeated champion had fallen, and he had fallen to a man holding a broom. The silence exploded into thunderous applause. The sound shook the walls. People stood shouting, cheering, some even crying. Fighters who had once mocked Kale now bowed their heads in respect. Vyrex lay still, staring at the sky above the arena. "You could have destroyed my armor," he said quietly. Kale removed the broom and stepped back. "I did not come to destroy." Vyrex slowly removed his helmet fully and looked at Kale with something new in his eyes, respect. "You came to teach," Vyrex said. Kale nodded once. Medical drones approached, but Vyrex waved them away and stood on his own. The arena officials stepped forward, ready to declare Kale the new champion of Zerath Prime, but Kale raised a hand. "I do not seek titles," he said calmly, his voice echoing through the arena. "Strength is not proven by trophies, it is proven by growth." The crowd quieted again, listening carefully. "For too long," Kale continued, "you have believed that power comes from machines. That victory belongs to those with the strongest armor and the fastest systems, but today you saw something different. You saw that discipline, balance, and understanding can overcome any tool." His eyes moved across the fighters in the arena. "Technology is not your enemy, but it should not replace you. Master yourself first, then use your tools wisely." The words settled deeply into everyone listening. Young trainees looked at their armored gloves differently now. Engineers in the stands reconsidered their designs. Even Vyrex stood straighter, as if understanding something he had never been taught before. The officials tried once more to present Kale with the championship crest, a glowing emblem symbolizing ultimate victory. Kale smiled gently and stepped back. "There are many masters," he said. "I was only here to remind you." With that, he turned and began walking toward the arena exit. The same way he had entered, calm, humble, broom resting on his shoulder. The crowd parted silently as he walked. No one laughed now. No one whispered in doubt. They watched with admiration. Outside the arena, the twin suns of Zerath Prime were setting, casting long golden light across the metal towers. The noise of celebration echoed behind him, but Kale did not look back. He had done what he came to do. He had shown the galaxy that humanity's greatest strength was not in circuits or steel, but in spirit, creativity, and discipline. Back inside the arena, Vyrex addressed the fighters. "Training begins tomorrow," he said firmly. "Without armor," some laughed nervously. But many nodded seriously. A new era had begun, not an era without technology, but an era where warriors would train their minds and bodies before relying on machines. High above, the broadcast drones captured the final image of Kale Aaron walking into the fading light, broom in hand. Across distant planets, children watched that image and felt something awaken inside them. Hope, inspiration, belief. The legend of the master who entered the arena with a broom spread across the galaxy. Not as a story of destruction, but as a story of balance. Not as a tale of domination, but of wisdom. And somewhere beyond the city, Kale continued walking, seeking no reward, carrying no title. Only the quiet knowledge that he had reminded the universe of a simple truth. The greatest weapon a warrior can carry is mastery of self. And sometimes, that mastery can be held in something as simple as a broom.